we have lower taxes, and we have easy parking.
And nice neighbors.
And very nice neighborhoods.
Yes.
Okay.
The Plymouth Township Planning Commission meeting will come to order at 7 o'clock. Secretary, please call roll.
Chairperson Cebulski,
Here.
Commissioner Barberina. Here. Commissioner Grieger, here. Commissioner Dorshevitz.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Barry.
Here.
Commissioner Ladowak.
Here. And is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? I have no changes or additions.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd and supported by Commissioner Grieger to approve the agenda for tonight. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 18th?
I have one minor change on the approval of the agenda on page 1. It said that the postponement of the North Territorial proposal was because the erected sign on the property lists the wrong date. I thought it was because the sign was never set up.
No, the sound was there, and then it had the wrong date.
Okay.
And then there wouldn't have been up there long enough after.
Okay.
Any other questions on the minutes? Is there a motion to approve as submitted?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to approve the October 18th minutes as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Chairman,
Motion
I
carries.
will abstain. I was absent.
Okay,
I will also abstain because I was absent.
okay, so Commissioner Barry and Commissioner Grieger abstained because they were absent. Now we time for public comment on any non-agenda items. So is there anyone here that wishes to speak for 3 minutes? They have up to 3 minutes on a non-agenda item. Okay. Hearing none. We have a public hearing for 49331 North Territorial Road. And do you have a planner's report?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So this item was tabled from the October meeting to the November meeting due to an error in the signage on the site. So although you have had some time to cover it over the last month, I'm just going to give a high-level review of our planner's report to highlight the main aspects. So this is a conditional rezoning for the property at 49331 North Territorial Road to conditionally rezone it from its current district, R1E, single-family residential, to the OS, Office Service District, with the condition that it be developed as a single-story dental office and office space. The proposed site, which consists of vacant land measuring 1.07 acres, is currently zoned R1E, and the 2015 Master Plan Future Land Use Designations for the subject site is residential low intermediate density. We've reviewed the conditional rezoning request for compliance with the Township Zoning Ordinance, the 2015 Adopted Master Plan, 2025 Draft Master Plan, and sound planning principles. So, based on the criteria we have before you today, we would like to jump to the criteria that we believe is the most of interest to the Commission, which is number 2, will the proposed amendment further the comprehensive planning goals and policies of the township? And the proposed amendment, is it consistent with the future land use map? If not, is it current, reasonable, or does it need to be updated? When evaluating a rezoning request, the township should review not only the master plan's future land use map, but also the goals and strategies of the plan. A goal of the 2015 adopted master plan is to provide for a balance of residential and non-residential uses, which will serve the needs of the community without having an adverse impact on the living environment. Additionally, the master plan aims to ensure that non-residential buildings and infill development located near single-family residential developments are designed to have a residential character. The proposed rezoning generally meets the goals of the master plan and the balance of land uses. However, the proposed rezoning does not align with the future land use map. Under the adopted 2015 plan, the site is designated as residential low intermediate density. As such, we know the commission has recently been discussing the purpose and appropriate location for office uses throughout the township. Historically, office uses have been relegated to exclusively east of Beck, and we leave it to the Planning Commission to further discuss whether this is still appropriate for the upcoming master plan. In conclusion, as a conditional rezoning request from the R1E district to the OS district, the Planning Commission has the following motions available to them. Recommendation of approval to the Board of Trustees for the rezoning, or recommendation to the Board of Trustees for denial of the rezoning. Additionally, as always, the Planning Commission has the option to postpone or table an application if additional information is needed. Based on the findings of our review, it is possible that the proposed conditional rezoning to OS, with a condition that the property be developed as a single-story dental office, could be compatible with the adjacent land uses. However, it does not align with the future land use map directly. It is recommended that the application be tabled until the Planning Commission resolves the 2025 future land use discussion on whether smaller-scale medical offices and local commercial uses at high intersections of the township would be an asset to the community and appropriate moving forward. If the township believes, or if the Planning Commission believes that this item does not require discussion for the land west of Beck, it should instruct the applicant on how to proceed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? No, you'll have to.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Al Macklin, and I happen to be the owner of the property.
Okay.
We are looking to hopefully put potentially a dental office, obviously, on the building. My son happens to be a graduate of U of M Ann Arbor as a dentist, and we're hoping that this would be an addition to the community. Of course, we understand that there's a residential zoning, but with the planning or zoning or the township's advice, we can kind of try to find a happy medium to make it fit in that on that site. Of course, I'm sure you all know that the site is a heavily traveled corner, and it's lots of traffic there. They tried to sell the property for residential, and we could not get anyone to want to develop it as a residential home, being that it's on that major corner there. But we're kind of hoping that you can see it, that this will be a great addition to the community, and it's not a heavily trafficked commercial or any kind of a retail. It's a dentist's office that I'm assuming that hopefully that the community would be welcoming to that kind of an idea. And I'm willing to take any questions you have or any opinions you may have.
Any questions from the commission before, or would you rather wait until after the public hearing?
I just have one question, and really for Nanny. The letter that we received from the applicant, is this what they're offering as the conditional rezoning? Like, is this what we're saying yes or no to? Is this sheet of paper here?
Yes, although with all conditional rezonings, when they ultimately make it to the board stage, the agreement is refined to be a more legally sound phrasing. So
Okay.
you're seeing as preliminary. There would be a more legally structured terminology used in any final board decision.
Okay, but overall, this is what
Yes.
we would be deciding yes or no on?
Yes, the applicant proposes the conditions and the commission cannot change them in any way.
Right, so I just wanted to make sure that I was reviewing the correct, like all of what they are proposing.
Yes,
and
that
that's
is
this.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I should mention, we did receive one public comment by email today. I provided that to the
We're gonna
secretary.
read that or summarize it. Okay. Any other questions before I open up public hearing? Okay, have a seat and we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll open the public hearing at 7:09. And again, there's a 3-minute time limit. And after everyone has had a chance to speak, if you thought of something you didn't say or you wanted to react to what had been said, you can come back for an additional 3 minutes. We ask you to be clear, concise, cogent, and civil. So is there, right. So with that, I'm going to ask the secretary to, do you want to read it? Or?
I can read it, or Gail?
I can read, I just can't write.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I have it, thank you. So this is an email that was received on Tuesday, November 14th from Mr. Greg Burrick. Good afternoon. My name is Greg Burrick. My wife and I live in Fox Point, which is just south of the North Territorial and Ridge Corner lot that is being considered for rezoning from R1E zoning district to the OS zoning district, 49331 North Territorial Road. We are strongly opposed to the rezoning of this property from residential to commercial. When we moved into Plymouth Township in 1991, one of the main reasons we chose this area was that we would be living in a residential setting away from the traffic and bustle of commercial activity. There was a green belt vision for this area which appears to be disappearing. Recently, rezoning and development activities in this area of northwestern Plymouth Township have steadily diminished the small town feel and setting. The most recent proposed rezoning, taken on its own, does not appear to be significant. However, when all of the recent rezoning and development activities are taken into account, for me, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Each of the recent rezoning requests appear to be considered individually without consideration of the totality of impact when considered together. Just think about what has been happening in our area lately. Northville Downs moved to 5 Mile and Ridge. The warehouse located at Napier and 5 Mile. The warehouse located at Ridge and 5 Mile. The charter school located on Ridge Road across from Fox Point, and potential of Meyer located on 5 Mile near Ridge. I recognize that the charter school is outside the authority of the township, but it must be considered in evaluating rezoning proposals like this one. All of this activity is already changing the character of this area as well as significantly increasing traffic and noise. We strongly encourage the Planning Commission to reject the proposed rezoning of 49331 North Territorial Road from R1E to OS zoning district. Thank you for your consideration, Greg Burrick.
With that, is there anyone that wishes to come forward? And state your name and address if you wish.
Got it.
Okay.
My name is Julie Harb, and I live at 13100 Glenview Drive in Plymouth Township, and I've been a resident in this township for over 50 years. I speak tonight on behalf of the residents that live adjacent to 49331 North Territorial Road. As a reminder, Chairman Sobalski, I spoke before you a few times in 1997 and 1998 regarding this same property, and here we are again. This time, the previous owner has led the current owner to believe that this property on the corner of North Territorial and Ridge Roads could be developed as something other than residential. In 1998, according to the master plan, the original zoning of residential had been in place for 50 years, and now we're at 75 years. That fact alone speaks volumes. The integrity of this neighborhood needs to be preserved, and more importantly, the values of the homes in this area of the township. Back in 1998, the traffic and safety issues were one of this commission's deciding factors for denying the rezoning of this property. I would suggest that this area has become and will soon become even more traveled. I do not think that you need data for this claim, but if you need it, I have contacted MDOT and Wayne County. Finally, let me point out to you a very important detail of the proposed site plan that was given to you. There is a detail that neither the planner nor the property owner seem to be aware of. The proposed site plan shows a house, number 13250, directly south of the proposed development on Ridge Road. The plan failed to include house number 13300. This, to me, negates the entire site plan in its entirety. I urge you, the Planning Commission, to disregard the planner's suggestion to table the rezoning until the 2025 master plan has been approved and simply deny this request for conditional rezoning completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward?
My name is James Harb, former planning commissioner, and I also live at 13100 Glenview Drive in Plymouth Township. I want to begin by applauding the Planning Commission's decision not that long ago of denying the request for rezoning with applied fitness, where I believe the public, I think it was Joe and a couple other different owners of the car washes came in to claim their case that there are too many car washes. And you made sure to tell them that that was not relevant. What was relevant was whether or not that was an approved use for that particular property. Once again, here we are. That is not approved use for this particular property. The master plan has been in effect for quite some time. There is absolutely no commercial or office on North Territorial west of Sheldon Road. The planner or someone in the report stated that there are no dentist offices west of Sheldon Road. There are at least 3. We're a population of about 40,000 between Plymouth and Plymouth Township. And if you take the 20-plus dentists that are in the area, that equates to about 7 patients a day for each dental office. I applaud Mr. Mecklid's son in graduating from University of Michigan's dental school, but at that point, we don't need any more dentist office, and it's not relevant because what's relevant is the use for the property. So I would suggest that with the person who wrote in and said, we have a charter school coming in, they failed to mention the hydrogen plant. So what is traffic going to be like on North Territorial? The applicant himself said it's way too busy for residential. If it's busy for residential, it must be busy for office as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just step forward, whoever wants to come.
Hi, I'm June Cutter, and I live at 46920 North Territorial, so about a mile east. And I also oppose the zoning change. Oh, first I want to thank all of you for volunteering your time. My father was on the Planning Commission in Canton Township for a really long time. So I know what it's like to be a kid who's got their parents off doing volunteer work. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But like the letter, Gail, that you read earlier, all of those points I would like to echo. I think that this is not appropriate use, although I also love dentists, went to my dentist today. Thank you, dentists. But I think that we have lots of other places in our township where it is more appropriate for a dentist office, not that area of North Territorial. I think it needs to remain residential as it is currently zoned.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I wish to point out that at the October 18th meeting, a Judith Washburn spoke during the part at the beginning of the meeting in opposition to this. I don't believe we've heard from her tonight, but that should be cited as another person. Yeah. It is you.
Okay, up to you. All right, well, with that, if there's no one else, we will close the public hearing at 7:18. And the applicant, do you have anything else you want to add before we deliberate?
It's Al Macklin again. Although I appreciate the kind words and I respect their opinion, I just wanted to make sure that the plans that I submitted were just a preliminary sketch, just so they can get an idea of what the building might look like. Of course, that wasn't something we're married to. I'm sure if there was something else that the township wanted to introduce or at least come up with or give us some other ideas, we're glad to listen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So discussion amongst the commissioners. Anyone want to lead anything off? So as the planner's report said, we can either postpone this until we settle on a new master plan and decide what we want to do there, or stick with the master plan we have right now, which does say there can be no commercial west of Beck.
Sorry, say that again, Dennis?
No commercial west of Beck. And that goes, all the way from Joy Road up to North Territorial or beyond. Well, up to the freeway, and then it ends.
Mr. Chair, I would like to point out that there's a piece of property on Beck Road at Territorial, the southwest corner, that was recently, it was originally a larger lot. It was recently approved as a lot split. So that piece of property on that north-southwest corner could potentially, if we make this change, that owner, I think, could come forward and ask for a similar type of consideration.
This was, where was it? Tell me again, southwest corner?
Southwest corner of Beck and North Territorial. You recall there was an older home on the
Yeah, so
lot
that got
was
torn down.
remodeled,
Yeah.
and then the lot was split, was approved. It's single-family residential is what it was approved
Yeah.
as.
It was approved for a lot split, for residential lot split?
Correct, yes.
When do you expect we'll have the 2025 future land use plan
Adopted.
adopted? What do you think?
What do
What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, we did review it, and now be so much time has passed that we have to go back and re-review it.
And I see the options are either denying or postponing until the master plan.
Right.
So I don't see, approving this.
You
It's
can
in
recommend
such,
approval,
recommend-
recommend denial, or recommend, or postpone it.
right, so I would either want to deny or postpone.
I would agree with Kendra. I don't see, under the current criteria, where we could approve this at this time, I mean, I travel by that corner pretty much every day, and I could see where the idea of a dental office could be a convenience, but just the same. This has been residential area the whole time, and it does not fit within the criteria for us to make that judgment of a change as I see it. So, yeah, I agree with you.
I look at it as somewhat of a slippery slope, because there could be other applicants in the future. They say, well, you did the conditional rezoning on this particular site, and I'd like to do the same thing. And just by making the building look residential, well, nice and fits in, but it's the use that we're really looking at. Any other comments? Well, I kind of hear that seems like denial is in the minds of most commissioners. Postpone it, but does anyone want to make a motion?
And just to clarify, it would be a recommendation of
Right.
whatever to the board.
Recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
I'll do it unless someone else wants to. Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend denial of PC application 249A, the conditional rezoning at 49331 North Territorial Road, because it conflicts with the master plan. Per the planner's report, criteria number 2, it does not match the master plan, and also criteria number 5, it's inconsistent with the surrounding land.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to recommend denial for the conditional rezoning to the Board of Trustees. All in favor of recommending denial, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, this is a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So the Board of Trustees will take this up sometime in the future, probably next year. And so you might want to attend that meeting as well. Okay. Thanks for coming in. No, you won't be notified, but if you have the agenda,
There's some agendas.
there is a way, it shows you how you can be notified. You go onto the website.
You can sign
and
up
you
for
can
text or
sign up.
email or lots of other types of notification.
One question. I received my letter on the 3rd of the month. It was mailed on the 1st, so that's okay. Mail it on the 1st, but I don't get it till the 3rd.
Yes, it has to be mailed 15 business days before the meeting. So, sorry, 15 calendar days, not business days.
Very much.
We have the property right next to this parcel.
And I'm next door.
Been there for 40 years.
Sure, yes, absolutely.
Next is the text amendment to the zoning ordinance to provide additional criteria for depth to width ratio exceptions in land divisions. So, did you want to cover that, Ms. Wolf?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. This is your third time seeing this draft ordinance before you, and today it has been noticed as a public hearing. The only change between the last draft you saw and now is that we have removed item 3A subsection 4 at your suggestion from the previous meeting.
Okay. We didn't receive anything, so I guess I'll open the we've looked at this a few times, so any questions on behalf of the commission before I open up the public hearing? Okay, I'll open the public hearing at 7:27. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this application? All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:28. Is there any discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Commissioner, I move for the amendment to Article 28, Section 2, subsection 3A of the zoning ordinance, division of unplanted land, be adopted.
This would be a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. Yeah.
I move that we recommend it to the board for their consideration.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Berry and supported by Commissioner Grieger to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of the text amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, we have application 2504, the St. John's Towers, the PUD site development plan. And Ms. Wolf?
Thank you. So, I also want to mention that I have a couple extra printouts of the planner's report here. If anyone is interested in them, here's 2 extra copies. All right, so the item before you today, Planning Commission application number 2504, is the PUD site development plan for the St. John's Towns residential project. This project came before you back in the middle of the summer. So just to give you a little bit of history on the project as a reminder for anyone in the audience. The Planning Commission in April of 2023 held a public hearing on the PUD option. A PUD option is the step that comes before the site development plan. Essentially, it's a request to have a PUD in general. The Commission made a motion to recommend approval of the PUD option to the Board of Trustees on April 19th, 2023. Then, on May 9th of 2023, the Board of Trustees voted to approve the planned unit development option in the agreement with the findings of the Planning Commission. After that point, the applicant submitted a complete set of development plans to the township for review by the Planning, Engineering, Fire, and Public Safety Departments in July of 2023. Today, November 15th, the applicant will present the development plan to the Planning Commission, and at this time, the Commission may either make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve with conditions, deny, or postpone the final development plan. At a future meeting date, the Board of Trustees will consider the development plan as well as the PUD agreement for final approval with conditions, or denial. So on the front of your packet, you will see there is a little diagram which also shows where we are in the process. Could you scroll down just a little bit? There we go, right there. So that's where we are in the PUD process today. And I'm going to cover our review letter rather comprehensively. Also, I realize I forgot to put it in one commissioner's packet, so I will go through every item in this letter. And additionally, the applicant has acknowledged a number of the items in this letter as of this week. As you know, we send these out on a Friday. You receive them the weekend, so sometimes we don't get to incorporate the most up-to-date responses from the applicant. But where the applicant has acknowledged that they will comply with the underlined item, I will mention it in what I am saying. So, to start off with our site development review. The proposed use of the site as a residential high-density development was approved under the PUD option. So I'm going to skip to number 2, which is on page 5. Pedestrian flow. The project includes interior sidewalks connecting the front entrances of the units. Although crosswalk stripes have been provided, they are not adequate in form and must be converted to the white horizontal, what we call zebra stripes, that are standard in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control and Design.
Hang on a second, you jumped ahead on.
Oh, sorry, right there. Thank
Page
you.
5, item 2.
Yep, so today.
Page 5 is not.
You're there, right there.
Yeah, that's you.
All right, I got it, thank you.
Yeah, so the site plan as you see it today proposes essentially 2 lines that connect either side of the block. And we are saying that those are not adequate for the crossings on Sheldon Road, which are going to be the highest volume crossings, and those must be converted to the traditional zebra stripe crossing. The applicant has already acknowledged and is willing to do this in an updated site plan. Another item we have noted is that while it is important to maintain the connection in the project moving forward, the project does not include the original 8-foot non-motorized path that was considered during the PUD option stage, per the April 2023 Planning Commission meeting. I believe this is the largest item for discussion on the table today. The applicant is here and would like feedback from the Planning Commission on the necessity of the 8-foot path in particular. Scrolling down a little bit to vehicle flow, the project in general is served by 2-way drives connecting the site's interior road network to Sheldon Road, and this portion of Sheldon Road experiences high peak time travel. As such, the applicant has provided a traffic impact memorandum demonstrating that the acceleration and deceleration lanes are not warranted at this time. Additionally, the applicant has provided a fire turning diagram, which has been reviewed by the fire department, and the fire department found no deficiencies in the current site plan. However, we did note that there was an absence of a garbage truck turning diagram. So these homes will be served by traditional waste pickup where you have a recycling bin and a trash can. And as such, we need a complete garbage truck turning diagram. The applicant has acknowledged that they will provide this diagram. Next is vehicular parking. So the proposed development plan provides 4 parking spaces per unit, 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. Each driveway measures 16 feet by 20 feet deep, which equates to 2 parking spaces. As such, the proposed parking aligns with the standards and dimensions for a typical residential parking space. Article 24 of the zoning ordinance requires 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit for townhomes and apartments. The current project provides above and beyond the required parking. Per the April 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the applicant was instructed to investigate the use of permeable pavers to reduce the stormwater detention and lessen the impact of the site on the adjacent wetland and woodland. The applicant has acknowledged that they did do an infiltration study on the site to determine if the soils would accommodate permeable pavers and other forms of stormwater detention like swales and rain gardens, and they will provide that in an updated submission. It was not included in the packet for this round. The next item was regarding the architectural design and accessibility. The proposed entryway shown on various sheets of the site plan show different entryways to the site, some showing a single step-up entry, while others show a 5-foot stoop and a series of steps. The applicant must provide a decisive diagram showing the design of the entryway for the units rather than a conceptual or typical one. Additionally, the entryways must be lowered to at grade with no more than a 1/4 inch rise to accommodate residents and visitors with mobility challenges. The applicant has addressed this and in their presentation will point out which of the individual units they propose to have steps and which ones they propose will not have steps. Additionally, they have also noted that all of the garage entry points to the homes are at grade. The next item is materials and finish. The applicant proposes a combination of brick, split-face block, and hardy plank board and batten vertical siding across the townhomes, alternating for each unit to provide differentiation. Although the materials appear to be generally acceptable, they do not include a table explaining the exact materials, and additionally, material and color samples were not provided for review by the commission. The applicant has acknowledged this and plans to provide those material samples to the commission at a revised submission. This information must be provided and will be this information must be provided to the commission to ensure the townhomes will be constructed of materials that are of sufficient quality to reflect the standards of the PUD. Additionally, per the April 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the variable fenestration and finish materials is appropriate for the front facades but appears inconsistent on the side elevations, which incorporate a mix of vertical and horizontal siding. This must be shown to a consistently vertical-oriented arrangement for the non-masonry components. The applicant has indicated that they wish to keep it a mix of horizontal and vertical hardy plank boards and look for the commission's comments on that item. Finally, the windows surrounding the building are inconsistent, with some having greater detail than others in terms of casements, sills, and inset relief. The applicant has also acknowledged that they are willing to do consistent window treatments on every side of the building and will be providing a consistent window casement for all of them. So right now, some of the windows have casements, some have a small brick sill. They will provide consistent casements in a revised submission. Next, on to landscaping. The applicant proposes to landscape the site using a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees, as well as a uniform ground cover of irrigated lawn. Per the April 2023 Planning Commission motion, the applicant was instructed to provide additional landscaping throughout the site above and beyond the ordinance minimums, as well as vegetation along Sheldon Road to shield the townhomes from peak hour traffic. The proposed development plan does not incorporate these changes, but the applicant has acknowledged that they will include some of these items in a revised submission. Per the April 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the applicant was directed to provide additional enhancements to the open space portions of the site to create a public benefit that can be enjoyed by all users of the township rather than just development residents. Ideas that were given by the commission at that time included a walking path around the detention basin, educational signage about the ecosystems on the site, and more. Similarly, the sidewalk along Sheldon Road was intended to provide the broader public benefit. We look forward to the commission providing some additional direction to the applicant on these specific items. Now on to tree replacement. So Plymouth Township's tree ordinance is a separate ordinance from the zoning code, but it applies to all development projects. Non-heritage trees must be replaced at a 1:4 DBH ratios. That means, for example, if you remove a 12-inch tree, you have to replace it with at least 3 inches of tree. It doesn't have to all be on one, but it can be spread across several trees. It just has to be 1/4 of all the inches you've removed. For heritage trees, which are trees that are greater than 12 inches in size or trees that are of particularly unique or special species, they have to be replaced at a 1:1 ratio. So for every inch of tree you take out, an inch of tree has to go in. Currently, the applicant proposes 58 deciduous trees, 45 ornamental trees, and 66 evergreen trees, totaling 306.5 inches in DBH, and an unknown DBH for the evergreen trees. The DBH for the evergreen trees must be provided alongside the height so the accurate tree replacement can be calculated. The applicant has acknowledged that they will provide the inch DBH for all of the evergreen trees in a revised submission so that this can be calculated. On to fencing and screening. Currently, the development plan includes a 12-foot row of evergreens as the buffer between the proposed townhomes and the existing golf course to the east. My apologies for the typo, it says gold course, but I meant golf course.
I'm on my way out there.
Yep. Previously, the Planning Commission also discussed the possible need for a safety mesh net along this boundary as it exists today. And the applicant is here to also speak on this item and answer your questions and discuss with you the net that is there today and what they are proposing. Next, the master plan prioritizes the requirement for a substantial buffer between residential developments and primary roads. At the April meeting, the proposed landscape buffer between the development and Sheldon Road was marked as insufficient and needing modification. This could include preserving some of the larger trees along Sheldon Road or adding more than one new deciduous tree per unit. The applicant has acknowledged this and noted that they will provide additional landscaping between the units and Sheldon Road in a revised submission. Finally, onto stormwater. The site plan locates the proposed retention pond on the southern side of the site, resulting in the removal of almost an entire woodland and part of an existing wetland. In 2023, the applicant was directed to investigate on-site detention such as swales, rain gardens, and permeable pavers. As we noted, the applicant did have an infiltration report done showing that the soil was not suitable for these items, and they will provide that infiltration report in a revised submission. Furthermore, the applicant listed 2 different seed mixes on the landscape plan for the detention basin, one called prairie mix and one called storm mix. However, the species list was not included for either of these seed mixes. A complete species list must be provided for review by the commission to ensure that no invasive plants would be included in the mix. The applicant has acknowledged that they will provide this list in a revised submission. Finally, no lighting plan was provided as a part of this. The applicant has acknowledged that they will provide a lighting plan in a revised submission. The signage on the site includes a single block monument sign that would read St. John's Towns, surrounded by decorative landscaping. In general, this sign is in keeping with the size of the other ground signs in the TAR district. The plans also show a stop sign at the southern site egress, as well as other internal intersections. Furthermore, pedestrian crossing signs are proposed at several of the intersections with lower volume. As presented, the proposed traffic signage is adequate to control traffic to and from the site. And finally, the project site does not contain any man-made features that are historically, culturally, or otherwise culturally significant. So if you go back to page 3, which has our recommendation right at the front, based on the information submitted, we are recommending that the commission postpone a vote on the development plan for the St. John's Towns PUD for up to 6 months to allow the applicant to incorporate the revisions that are specified herein, any other revisions that are specified by the commission, and those described through the April and May PUD option. We are happy to discuss this further and look forward to questions.
Okay, thank you. And we have the engineering report.
Good evening. Before I read from our letter, I would like to just state that the plans were transmitted to our office with receipt for both the tentative and final site plan review. So at the time of our engineering review, when it was performed of the site plans, we were reviewing with respect to both tentative and final site plan review. We have received the site plan submittal for the above referenced project prepared by Atwell LLC, dated July 7th, 23, and received by our office on October 25th, 2023. The plans were reviewed in accordance with the current Plymouth Township engineering standards, and the following comments are our observations. The recommendation it would be to approve for tentative and final site plan not being approved or recommended at this time until the following items are addressed. The project summary, the multifamily residential community at the Inn at St. John's Golf Course. Site access would be provided via Sheldon Road, and the subject site for the multifamily residential community is 8 acres, located northeast corner of section 22. Water service would be provided by an 8-inch extension of an existing 12-inch water main along the west side of Sheldon Road. 3 additional hydrants are proposed on site. Sanitary sewer service would be provided by an 8-inch extension from the existing 18-inch sanitary sewer along the south side of the property through an existing easement. Stormwater would be collected by a stormwater collection system and discharged to an on-site detention basin, which drains eastward 0.8 of a mile to the Middle Rouge River through an existing water course. The tentative and final site plan does not meet the general requirements of the Plymouth Township Code of Ordinances and the Engineering Design Manual, and the following items must be addressed prior to resubmittal. General items. Provide the parcel ID of the lot split. Provide evidence that the lot split was completed per our previous letter provided April 4th, 2023. Confirm right-of-way dedication was included with the lot split for Sheldon Road. Confirm that the county confirm with the county that the proposed driveway aligned with Helm Street is feasible and that a pedestrian crossing is allowable. Additional work may be required to retime the signal or other coordination for the pedestrian crossing. Modifications to the proposed signal and intersection may be required. Confirm with Wayne County that the driveway approaches onto Sheldon Road have adequate geometrics and are dimensioned appropriately. Currently, they're only proposed at 23 feet wide, and I believe that's insufficient. The next item is water main. Drawing 5, we need the label of the water main easements, locations of the easements, and the width. Confirm if the proposed water main running parallel to the existing utility easement listed in LIBR 16098, page 836, is allowable. Otherwise, remove the water main from being proposed inside the existing easement. Water main is proposed under the proposed roadway. We recommend moving proposed water main to greenbelt areas, or alternatively, if the DPS finds that the current location is acceptable, then an agreeable statement from the township that the township is, we would need a statement that the Charter Township of Plymouth is not responsible for the associated costs of the pavement, driveway, and sidewalk repairs for any future utility work or repairs. The next item, sanitary sewer. On drawing number 5, building foundations and unidentified awnings and or deck posts extend into a proposed sanitary sewer easement. Update the building locations or proposed sanitary sewer locations accordingly. Buildings 26 through 28 and 22 through 25 are directly on the existing edge of an existing utility easement line. The depth of the existing 18-inch sanitary sewer is over 20 feet deep, measured from the proposed finished grade of the buildings, and the buildings are horizontally only 11 feet from the existing 18-inch sewer per the surveyed locations. Revise the building locations and update the easement to provide a minimum of 15 feet from the easement edge to the as-built sewer location as dimensioned in the recorded document. Provide labels for a 20-foot wide proposed sanitary sewer easement throughout the site. Sanitary sewer is proposed under proposed roadway. We recommend moving proposed sanitary sewer to greenbelt areas, or alternatively include a statement that the Charter Township is not responsible for the associated cost of the pavement, driveway, and sidewalk repairs for any future repairs of the sanitary sewer. Site paving. Horizontal alignment changes greater than 10 degrees deflection require a minimum of 150-foot radius curve. When reverse curves are employed, they shall be separated by a minimum of 100-foot tangent. Provide revisions showing these limits are met or have been given a design exception. Drawing 6 vertical curves of at least 100 feet shall be used for all changes in grade greater than 2%. Drawing 6 and drawing 9 at approaches to the street, the surface of the street shall have at least a 50-foot section with a grade of no more than 2% adjacent to the approach. The next item is floodplain. The 100-year floodplain does not appear to traverse the property. Next, off-site easements. Any off-site temporary grading easements anticipated must be executed prior to final approval of the plans. Drafts of the easements must be submitted to our office for review and shall be approved prior to executing the easement. Next, the following must be submitted with the revised site plan. A letter from either the applicant or the applicant's engineer must be submitted with the site plan, highlighting the changes made to the plans, addressing each of the comments listed above, indicating the revised sheets involved. Please be aware that additional comments may arise with the submittal of the requested revisions and or additional information. The comments are not to be construed as approvals and are not necessarily conclusive. The final engineering plans for this development are to be prepared in accordance with Plymouth Township Engineering Design Standards and the 2021 Plymouth Township Standard Detail Sheets. Sanitary sewer and water benefit fees may apply to the project. If you have any questions regarding this, please reach out to our office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the applicants received a communication from the fire department saying they found no deficiencies from a public safety perspective. And the applicant is here? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Bill Anderson. I'm with Atwell. We're the engineers and planners for the project. Also tonight with me is Joe Score. He runs land development for Pulte Homes of Michigan. It's a pleasure to be here. I guess I will tell you, we weren't in receipt of the engineering letter that I just had heard. We did get the planning letter a few days ago and actually had a meeting this morning, went through the planner, so that was a good review. Was requested that I kind of give an overview. We were here with you folks last spring and got board approval in May for the option and kind of presented our plan then. It hasn't changed dramatically, other than we've added quite a bit of detail to the plan and the layout. But I can briefly go through the project real briefly, and then I guess I have a couple comments I want to make based on the consultant reports that we might want to talk further about. So if you have our presentation.
That's it, right?
No, I think that's the planner presentation.
No, that's not. This is what.
Oh, yeah. Ours was color up front. You had it there earlier.
This is it.
Oh, maybe the colors. Maybe, thank you. Well, what I can, oh, here we go. I see it now. Okay, go back.
You have some, did you have maybe a different file?
I have a plan B. We'll go old school.
I
like old school.
I'll give you guys a few pieces of paper. We'll go through that. Oh my God, we're gonna write them up.
Something's wacky about this computer today. It's been like this for a week.
Again, St. John's Townhomes. The second slide is basically just an aerial overview of our project. It's in a fascinating location on Sheldon Road, as you know, towards the northern end of the township. It's actually included in the historic St. John's Resort, across the street from some significant R&D tech in retail in the township, and real close to the on-ramp to 14. So it's a unique location for the property. And we're proposing basically an eight acre land division split from the resort. So that's basically an overview. As far as the project overview, it was an existing tech and research property, now proposed as a PUD. Again, the project overview. Our plan is 72 townhomes. They're going to be for sale, townhome condominiums. Elevations will be the next slide. We have about 55% open space, so a significant amount of open space on the property. Based on an easement, we're preserving a wetland, and we have some nice buffers to the golf course. So that's a nice plan. Again, two entrances off of Sheldon. We have public utilities from the township. The benefits of this project is really our housing type and the great location. We're proposing 3 and 4 bedroom units, beautiful open floor plans for young families and active adult, kind of a unique product, particularly outside the downtown area. The location, the very desirable location for housing, next to a golf course, on the north end of township. We're near an expressway, M14, so it has really great access. So that'll be a unique housing feature. And then next to a significant employment and retail in the township. So we think this is just going to be a home run project. We're improving the intersection at Helm and Sheldon. Township engineer had indicated it. We've actually had a county review. We'll be improving that signalization and adding a crosswalk to connect to all the pedestrian walks to the west side of the property, the employment centers, and all the retail. That intersection will be improved with that and the crosswalk. We have pedestrian connections internally. We got two big internal loops, and we'll probably add some additional benches and vista areas in the community. Right now, we have a couple. We'll probably add a couple more benches, so we'll have nice pedestrian looping throughout the community. The next sheet is really our townhome buildings, which are our elevation, high-quality materials, brick, stone with hardy plank board accents, window and framing. These are 3 to 6 unit buildings proposed. You're looking at a 6 unit, and we provide you a side elevation. Our plan has even more expanded elevations, so it's a pretty attractive townhome unit. The next slide is one of the issues we wanted to chat with you in regards to the planner letter. I know when we were here at the Planning Commission, it was suggested we look at extending the pathway north of our property, 15 feet up to Sheldon and 5 Mile. We did look at that pretty intently and had a big discussion with the Board of Trustees actually that evening. The township engineer was involved in the conversation as well. As you can see from that slide, well, it's not a slide, you'll see that picture on Sheldon. It's about a 1,500-foot extension, pathway extension. There's about 350 feet where it's very narrow through there. There's guardrail and steep slopes. That guardrail is about 4 feet off the back of curb. So I don't think you can certainly can't put the pathway in there. You'd be talking about pushing that slope out about 10 to 14 feet into that side slope. It's private property. It's golf course property. And it's quite a bit of vegetation. So that extension, even if it was normal construction, would be pretty extensive, certainly given the topography and limited right-of-way. That pathway extension is just not economically viable. Beyond that, what I would tell you, we're proposing a crosswalk at Helm. It'll get all our residents, your future residents, across Helm. There's a pathway up the west side of Sheldon. They can bike and walk to all our R&D facilities, and there's a significant amount of retail and grocery shopping, as you know, on the east side. So we are providing a pedestrian connection to the west side of Sheldon. But the extension on that east side is just not a viable option. And that next slide, that next overview is kind of a aerial shot of it as well. I guess the only other thing I would say, those are open for questions, but hearing a little bit from the engineering report tonight, I don't think I had any real exceptions with the one caveat. It was suggested that our homes line up against the sewer easement. They do. It's a tight configuration. And we're going to need to leave our homes right outside that easement. We can look at where that sewer depth is relative to our foundation, and we'll ensure that everything's structurally sound. But I don't know that I can accommodate moving our property further beyond an already wide easement there. So we will look. I'll agree to look at that further with the engineer, but it's not just a simple task of, just move those buildings further away from that sewer. We're outside the easement. That easement width was provided for a reason, and we'll make sure everything's structurally sound in our home placement and for future maintenance of the sewer without any harm to our housing. But I think that was the only comment that I heard relative to the engineering. As your planner said, most of those comments are minor in nature, and we're prepared to provide that additional detail in our next round of changes and our final engineering. So we're here for any questions that the Planning Commission may have. I appreciate your time.
Let me ask a question of Ms. Nemi. Isn't there some I don't know, rule or ordinance about the sidewalks and 10-foot, isn't that required along most of the roadways? I think Northville is an example of that.
You mean 10 feet from the curb?
Yes.
I'll let the township engineer speak to that one, actually.
There are times when sidewalks can be closer if there's adequate protection, guardrails and such. This particular place, north of the site, I think that the sidewalk could be, the applicant mentioned it was not economically viable. I don't know if that's a good reason to not build it. Retaining walls could be, the pathway could be put behind the guardrail, so it's further than 6 feet from the road, and also with retaining walls, I think it could be done. If there's other reasons, not to build it, so be it, but I don't think that that is a reason.
So it is possible to build the sidewalk at the area that the applicant is questioning. It can go on the other side of the guardrail.
I have not looked into whether or not there's right-of-way available or if it would take an easement. I think it's all one developer, so Pulte. So I think that sidewalk easement, it sounds like there'd be some clearing, some grading and retaining walls. So it would be a little more expensive than the typical sidewalk.
But it's feasible.
But it can be done.
Tonight is the first I'm hearing of that portion of the sidewalk, beyond the extents of the subject site. So we haven't had a chance to look at it, but we would be glad to examine some materials if they were submitted for our review.
Yeah, I'm curious how there is I don't know if it's really a sidewalk, but a bike path, I would call it, in Northville that goes all the way up into, 8 Mile Road or, through Northville. And there's some pretty rugged terrain, it's not just smooth, flat. I mean, there are, valleys and ridges and all that stuff.
We are designing an Arbor Road gap pathway right now that'll include a retaining wall that's up to 6 foot tall to pass under the CSX railroad, just right down the road from here. And it is feasible. It adds to the cost quite a bit. This location, I noticed while the applicant was speaking, it is listed as one of our priority sidewalk gap locations along the entire frontage of Sheldon Road on our township GIS map.
Yeah, for the developer, just for your background, the township does surveys of residents on a regular basis, and one of the biggest continuing feedback from the residents is that we need to fill in our gaps on sidewalks. So this is it's not just a planning commission priority, it's a township resident priority. The second point is, at the last time we reviewed this, I mentioned that there's a similar piece of terrain on Beck Road it's on the west side of Beck Road between 8 and 9 Mile. It's just south of the Bellagio development, and it's a similar type of topography, and they put in basically a wood trestle type of bridge along that area. So they didn't have to fill it in and put in a retaining wall. They made a wood bridge. Very nice looking, and it would seem to me that would, in my view, that would cover the issue of maintaining the sidewalk. I don't know if it would meet the township criteria, but it's something I mentioned at the last meeting. I think you need to go back and look at that.
There's a similar structure, I can't remember if it's on 10 or 11 Mile Road in Novi, it's north of 8.
Right, especially with, there's sidewalk on 5 Mile on the south side. So to connect from this development up to that corner along St. John's, I think that's a good idea.
And just to be clear, the township, in terms of planning and engineering, has nothing against a boardwalk. Boardwalks are not common, but they're certainly fine to accommodate.
Okay, so it is an option. So there's other options besides not having one. They do have options for solving this problem.
If there are locations along that route that have steep drop-off, that would be, you could switch between, paved sidewalk and boardwalk as needed. That could be considered. The trade-off, the feasibility and the benefit and cost.
Okay.
And if you follow Sheldon all the way into downtown Northville, there even are some boardwalk segments.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions?
Manny, somewhere in your report, I got the impression that you were a little disappointed that the applicant hadn't retained more of the trees on the site. Did I read that into that, or is that actually something that you commented on? And if so, could you explain a little bit more?
Yes. So, as you know, with all PUDs are required to provide a public benefit. The standard for PUDs is higher than that for a typical site plan. So we, in terms of landscaping, are expecting efforts to conserve natural trees on site and provide landscaping above and beyond the bare minimum. And we understand that the detention pond is necessary based on the soils of the site, but we have not been provided that infiltration report yet. If the infiltration report is reviewed by the engineer and supports that there are no possible alternatives to the detention pond in terms of swales, pavers, that sort of thing, then we understand why it's that size and why it's in that location. But I was, when first reviewing this without the infiltration report in front of me, considering why is the detention pond this size? Why were on-site detention methods not considered in order to reduce the pond and conserve more of the natural woodlands? But again, that's something that the applicant would address in a revised submission. But yes, so for example, with the Elks Lodge development fresh in everyone's minds in terms of tree preservation, that's something we look for in PUD applications.
If I could comment.
Sure, yes.
Yeah, and I appreciate, when you look at a product and a complex of this nature, you're just gonna grade basically within there. We have 25 feet of fall across the property, right? And detention obviously is a very important part of it. So there's not a lot of opportunity to, if there's a tree in the middle of the site to save that, given the topography and the product we're proposing. We will provide the infiltration. Our folks have looked at it. Basically, there is a little bit of sand where you could do some opportunities north of Helm, but there's no meaningful, the materials don't support it, and there's no meaningful reduction in detention requirements as it pertains to the county. So that pond is obviously in the right location. It's the low spot, and it's a pretty serious matter. So I don't think the pond's going to change materially in any subsequent look. And we're going to provide the soils as well to the planner.
So what are the benefits? Like you've received the PUD option.
Mm-hmm.
What are the benefits then to the community?
The benefits, as we have explained, was the unique housing type for this location, right? Given the proximity, in this area of the township, it's all R&D and the resort. So we're adding a unique product type to this area for a missing middle, young family, active adult. And it's going to be a very high quality product. It's going to be adjacent to a golf course, yet also adjacent to the large employment base for the township, right? And in close proximity to the airport. So it's going to be, it's a very unique housing development. And that's a benefit, I think, for the township, right? Just that location and everything. We are going to make improvements to Helm Road and do a crosswalk for those folks. I know you say that's a gap, but really the gap is there's no homes anywhere. And there was never been anyone here for our site because there's no homes anywhere. There's nowhere to go to the south. As you know, it's the interchange and everything. So I live in a community and I got a 400-foot gap, but it's surrounded by homes. This area, we're creating the homes, right, in this area. And we're going to create a safe walk across Helm to the walk over there where all, the employment is, and you have bushes and all the other retail there. So that improvement to Helm and the housing product itself in this location is really a benefit to the township.
The thing that concerns me, I like the idea about the protected crosswalk at Helm and all that. But on that other side, on the west side, there's so many curb cuts And, you know, if someone wanted to bicycle or just take a casual walk, they're put more at danger on that side than they are at the more pleasant walk that would be on the east side of Sheldon, because it's golf course, it's very nice, it's treed, and it leads up to another shopping area. You have Fresh Time, and you have some restaurants and some service, you know, capability, or, you know, in that shopping area there.
I think the other thing that I know we've been talking about with pathways is that by keep it on the east side of Sheldon, it gives you a direct access to Hines Park. So if you're living in these homes and you want to ride your bike or walk to Hines Park, it's a direct access to it.
It's a reasonable access, people would do it.
Right.
I have to be honest with you, I think the sidewalk issue is I don't think there's room for compromise on this. I think we.
Yeah, Joe.
I'm Joe Score. I'm with Pulte Homes of Michigan. First, let me just say, I mean, we try to be, we're in 25 communities throughout southeastern Michigan. We're the largest builder in the state. We try to be collaborative and cooperative, and within the municipality, we understand there's a give and take. We want to do the right thing. We want to provide a community benefit and the right community for not only our residents, but for the townships and cities that we work in. And we absolutely understand the goals and objectives around pedestrian connectivity and pedestrian pathways. We feel the same way that you do. People like to walk. I think it's probably the number one thing that people like and look for when they move into a new community. Having said that, I just have a couple comments with regard to this issue. This is an off-site pathway for a small residential townhome community. There were some comments about it's, anything, it's feasible. Anything can be done. We can throw all sorts of money and do just about anything. We're pretty good at what we do in terms of development and construction. It doesn't make it viable. It doesn't make it practical. And frankly, I understand your comments with regard to the curb cuts on the other side of the road. But we are providing that pathway, that crosswalk and that enhanced signal to move people from the east to the west. So we are providing connectivity. We are enhancing the network. We talked about this with this planning commission, I think, at the meeting in the summer, and you asked me to look at it. We did look at it. We went subsequent to that meeting. We went to the board, and we had a healthy, comprehensive discussion about it. And frankly, we talked about the same things that Bill and I've talked about tonight, just the fact that we believe it's infeasible, it's not practical, and it's a little bit redundant relative to the crosswalk that we are providing to tie people into the pathway on the east side of Sheldon. It wasn't gray with the board. We were, pretty direct, and our position at that time is that we just couldn't do it. And frankly, I appreciate all your comments. I understand your sensitivity to this issue, but our position really hasn't changed on that issue.
What I'm kind of hearing is not that you can't do it, you won't do it, is what I'm hearing.
I would say that I think that's probably a little bit of an overstatement. I would say that we can't do it for this development. We have built boardwalks. We have built sidewalks. This is 1,500 feet, almost a quarter mile of sidewalk and boardwalk in a very, very tight, physically constrained area for a very small townhome development. Bill spoke to the utility of it. There's no homes around us. This is essentially for our residents only. I don't know what the benefit is when you have no rooftops whatsoever and an expressway to the south. So it's just not, I'm not saying it's impossible. I wouldn't sit here tonight and say it's not possible. Anything's possible. It's just not feasible or practical relative to to the community and the development that we're proposing here tonight.
So I've been on the commission a long time, and a lot of developers say that they don't want to put in sidewalks, or that there's only so many people that it'll benefit. But if we say, no, you don't have to, then we have a hard time the next time when somebody says, no, we don't want to either, you didn't make them do it. And we've gotten into this in the past. Moving forward, we've really been diligent on the sidewalks. The community wants it, the Board of Trustees wants it, we're trying really hard to connect our sidewalks. So that's where I stand on that.
And when St. John was being redeveloped, there was payment in lieu of sidewalks along 5 Mile Road because they didn't want to put the sidewalk there. So the township, I believe, feel that they took that desire into mind, and so we didn't require the sidewalk there, but they did pay in lieu. So now you're asking no sidewalk on this side. So I have a problem with, with the sidewalk and not being established in that area.
Maybe just point of clarification, we are doing sidewalk. We're doing sidewalk on our frontage. And just for clarity, I think there was a couple comments with regard to the different parties involved with this development. We are Pulte Homes of Michigan and the Pulte Group. We have no affiliation, no connection with the Pulte family. That is obviously redeveloping the St. John's Resort Golf Course.
We're doing the 1,000-foot frontage.
Yeah, is that, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 1,000 foot of frontage, and we are proposing walk across our frontage, and then in addition to that, the crosswalk at Elm. So we're talking about frontage that's not our frontage. It's owned by the golf course folks.
Right away.
And yeah, it's not right away either. It's outside the right of way.
So you say that it only affects a small group of people because it's only a small development, but isn't there a possibility for the guests and employees of St. John's Resort to take advantage of this connectivity as well? I mean, if it's on the...
They're not, I don't believe, there's no connectivity between this townhome development and the resort itself. These are two separate, independent, distinct developments. I don't believe that they wouldn't be, as far as I know, they're not coming south to go north. I'm sorry, not coming south. They're not going west to go north.
There's no interconnection with the golf course. We're adjacent to vegetation and golf holes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have a valid point in that if this is only the townhome residents, that would be one thing. But in Plymouth Township, a lot of people ride bikes and they prefer to ride them on sidewalks. And as one of the other commissioners mentioned, 5 Mile East is a great connection to the Heinz Park, and that's a wonderful place to ride your bike. Having this sidewalk on the east side of that Sheldon would not only be beneficial for other people in the community that want to traverse this, but also a lot of people that ride their bikes. And again, on this side of the road, we don't have to worry about all the curb cuts. On the west side with the Bush's grocery store and all of the people that turn in there. I also just reiterate what Chairman Cebulski said about setting precedents in the township. We have these discussions with developers all the time, and this is really important to the community, I guess, is what I need to say to you.
I mean, I can understand that. I really do. But there has to be some proportionality. We're talking about 1,000 feet on our frontage, which we're obviously more than happy to do. And then we're looking at another 1,500 feet of not just standard sidewalk or pathway, but a significant amount of boardwalk. And again, when relative to what we're proposing here tonight, we think it's disproportionate. And that's why I'm saying it's just not feasible or practical for this type of development. But I do understand your position with regard to filling in gaps. We think it's important also. and setting precedent. I do appreciate the comments.
But also, like, you're getting a PUD, so you're getting something that you wouldn't normally get understanding standard zoning. And so, in response to that, the township is expecting something. And I think this is, I think the sidewalk would be valuable to the township. So you're getting a benefit, and then the township gets a benefit as well.
I would also say that I would have hoped that we could have preserved more trees. According to your tree survey, page TS2, unfortunately, most of the trees on this piece of property are not desirable trees. And you can't really ask a developer to make an extra effort to save those. But there are 19 heritage trees of desirable species that could be saved. And of those, only 5 are shown to be saved on this site. The other 14 are to be removed. I'm sure there's a good reason for most of those to be removed, but typically on a development this size, we would have been given the actual tree survey that shows physically where those heritage trees are and where they are in relation to the buildings and everything that you do. So, I'm inclined to cut you some slack on the heritage trees, but again, typically that is what we would expect as part of the PUD agreement, and without that, the sidewalks become even more important. And again, this is, the idea of what Commissioner Barberino was saying is we're looking for a benefit for the entire community, not just the people that are in this particular development. That's the offset we're looking for. And I guess if I could also ask a follow-up question, did you actually go look at the boardwalk on 8 Mile, between 8 and 9 Mile on the west side? Did you cost it out? What is the...
I don't know that I personally, I know what you're talking about, but as I said, we have built numerous boardwalks throughout southeastern Michigan, so we're a sophisticated builder developer, so I don't think it's anything that's extraordinary for us. Yeah.
So you already have a fairly accurate idea of what the cost is of a boardwalk per foot?
We absolutely do, especially in this day and age. We do have an idea what it is.
And if I may mention, in past PUDs, as was brought up, the Planning Commission has also accepted a payment in lieu for the sidewalk. And with regards to proportionality, it's up to the Planning Commission to discuss if they would approve of a payment in lieu option, how much of the frontage it should cover.
How much what, the
Of
frontage?
the frontage it should cover.
In the payment in lieu, though, in the past, I think it's been when it really doesn't make sense to put like a sidewalk, say, between one building and a freeway and the freeway. Doesn't make sense, but in this case, it does make sense. So I don't think I'd be in favor of a payment in lieu in this situation.
Okay, so you don't own that piece of property that we're talking about, building this sidewalk, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sir.
The piece of property, that strip that goes from the development all the way out to 5 Mile, you don't own that piece of property?
We don't. It's either right away, and I can't tell you with 100% certainty, but it's either right away or owned by the Pulte Family Foundation.
Just curious, have we ever had a requirement on a developer to build on property they don't own as a benefit?
When he mentioned that, I was trying to think if we ever did require that. Remember anything?
I have not been here long enough to remember one, but that's another reason that a payment in lieu might be more appropriate for something like, remember the Elks Lodge development, they provided a payment for repaving of the roads to the north, which is under Wayne County jurisdiction, right? So if the jurisdiction is a question, a payment in lieu is usually a better option.
I guess if this is tabled tonight, and it looks like it will be, if we could have that answered by when this comes back to us, is if we can even make this a requirement.
And ultimately, it is up to the board to make it a requirement or not, but it is something that the planning commission can recommend to the board.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether or not we can recommend it.
So you'd like Kevin to investigate construction on a different property owner's
Right.
parcel?
Like if we
Okay, I'll
can
request
make
that
that
the-
a,
Yeah, I'll request the township attorney to investigate that.
Because I think
because
that,
otherwise it's a moot point.
excuse me, but I think that also raises the issue about liability for that part of the sidewalk that is not on that person's property.
I'll have Kevin look into all of those questions for you.
Thank you.
The right-of-way of Sheldon, typically, like on Ridge Road, the right-of-way includes the sidewalk that's on Ridge Road, in front of our subdivision. So it would seem to me that the right-of-way of Sheldon going up to 5 Mile, I mean, maybe it's not, but we should certainly investigate and see if that is actually the town, if that's actually the county right-of-way, or whether you would have to, in essence, get an easement from St. John's to do
It's
that.
one or the other, and we just don't know. I mean, it may be right, maybe county right away, but if it wasn't donated, then it's not. Yeah.
It's likely donate, when you do, like, we'll donate right away when we do our
Right,
condominium
exactly.
development, we'll donate additional right away, we'll improve that right away, we'll add the 1,000-foot of pathway across our frontage. I don't believe that's been done in front of that 1,500 feet, been donated, so it would be, there'd be a portion of private property. But again, there's steep slope, guardrail, I mean, it is not a good situation. Very, very costly and impractical from my perspective for this particular case.
I would think further investigation into whether that right-of-way was dedicated in front of the golf course frontage needs to take place. Our GIS currently shows that it has been dedicated well beyond the guardrail. So it just needs to be investigated and measured precisely. Also, the other alternative, if there's not enough right-of-way, is sidewalk easements occur all the time for our sidewalk development, the ones that we design on behalf of the township and for other properties. An easement could be obtained from the other property owner.
Okay.
Yeah, it deserves a lot more investigation on this before we could require that. Any other issues? So can you repeat again, what do you feel is the community benefit? I know you said it's a different type of residential development that currently doesn't exist in the township, primarily because of its location.
Yeah, well, I think it's a type of housing that doesn't exist in this location or really otherwise or anywhere in the township. Again, I think Bill mentioned it caters toward young families, missing middle, even some active adults that are looking at that lock and leave type of option. And again, it's at, given the type of product and the size of the product, it's at more of a, I don't want to say affordable, but more of an attainable price point relative to what you're seeing in new homes throughout the township.
So what do you expect price points to be?
I think that base prices will start somewhere in the it's very early, so I have to hedge a bit, but base prices will start somewhere in the 4s. And then, depending on buyer preference, options, premiums, it will go from there. And I don't, it's very challenging to find anything at that price point in the township, a new home, for a new home in the township.
Yeah, I'm not sure about young families. If they have children, there's really no place for them to play or, there's no really yard that kids would like to play in,
That's why I said I think it's sort of a broad demographic. I wouldn't say it focuses on any singular type of buyer group.
And there are similar townhomes going in actually right down the street, the Elks property. Look quite similar to this, so it isn't unique to the community.
It's just, yeah, you're right. But it's proposed. It's not built. But
It's under construction right now.
Are those for sale or for rental?
No, those are.
What I guess I'm getting at is anything existing.
Sale for the townhomes. I guess I would just want to reiterate that when you come back, to make sure that you've satisfied all of the PUD requirements for this development, because it just looks like a lot of townhouses crammed onto a site and a retention basin. So just please go back to what was agreed to when you first got your PUD option approved.
Yeah, I would think a little.
What was, I'm sorry, just looking for clarification, what was agreed, you're saying just in terms of community benefit?
Right, back to what was originally agreed upon back, 6 months ago, because,
I don't think that we're not offering anything that was agreed upon when we met with you or the township board. I don't think that we've changed our position in terms of what we're offering at this project. So I guess I'm just a little bit confused in terms of what you're saying. Yeah, it's, nothing has changed, and we're going to revise the plan in accordance with the majority of the comments from the planner's review letter. Yeah.
okay, we'll see what they show. Anyone else?
And how much time do you, we're going to postpone this. Did you have a date in
Well, I mean,
mind?
listen, I've listened to the comments. I absolutely appreciate them. We'll go back. I understand what's important to this planning commission. We'll go back. We'll take a look and see what we can do.
I would agree with Commissioner Barberina that the townhouses, they do look to me like they're just plopped in there. I don't know what you could do if you could move them in and out, you know what I mean, to give them some more visual interest. I don't know if that's possible, but you might want to just look at that.
Yeah, I think it's sort of hard to decipher from that rendering. That we do have certain offsets between the units, but I'll provide that clarification at the next meeting.
I look at the townhouses that have been put up on the Northfield side near 5 and Beck, 5 and Beck.
Yeah.
More toward Beck. There's no visual interest there, and I wouldn't want to see something like that here, because really, you are next to the golf course, you're next to some very attractive buildings, that they've invested money in over, several decades, so we want something that will kind of complement what's already there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but I think the architecture and the elevations that we submitted and the mix of building materials and the architectural diversity, we think they're very nice looking units, and we designed that product and that architecture specifically for this site. But yeah.
Okay.
Is that the golf course site?
I'm sorry.
Is that the golf course site? Is
Yes,
that what
ma'am.
faces the golf course?
So actually,
We will
the
provide them.
units, that back to
Yeah.
the golf course, it's the rears of the units will back to the golf course.
Okay.
And every unit has a small deck on the second floor.
There is some, if you look at the shadow lines of that are rendering, there's a lot of, like, there's
Back
three,
and forth.
there's actually 3 different fascias. So there's, if you look up far left, there's that stuff. There's that 2 windows. That's now, it attaches to another part of the building that sits out from the brick, if I'm seeing that right. So there is a lot of stuff back on this building. It's not really flat. I think the backside looks flat, but
The
maybe there
backside.
is a couple, setbacks on there too, so.
And the backside's what'll be shown on Sheldon,
No, actually,
right?
No,
Is that
that's
right?
the golf course.
Okay, so that was a question. now.
Backsides,
So
garages
off
are.
of Sheldon Road.
No, for I thought you said the golf course. I'm
I
sorry.
did. Her question.
Oh, no,
is,
yeah, the fronts of the units are on Sheldon Road.
These.
Okay,
Correct.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, mine was also, but. Mine was a golf course, I should say.
I think architecturally, I agree. I think you've done a nice job with the architecture on this. I think maybe what the feedback from the commission is the actual plot plan, the layout, very regimented.
Yeah.
And I understand, again, given how many units you're trying to put on this site,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of,
It's a
But
it's a tight site,
Yeah.
admittedly, and there's not a ton of room, We do have a fair amount of open space, but yes, the units, the area where we have the majority of the units, it is a little bit tight.
Well, maybe one of the areas, this is just a suggestion for you to look at. You didn't submit a lighting plan, but maybe some ornamental type, street lamps in there that would, upgrade it to look a little bit, make it look a little more.
Yeah, and we can submit that. We generally put streetlights at the entrance and then at various points throughout the community, mostly at the intersections within the community, but we can take a look at that.
Okay.
Similar to the Elks Lodge and other recent subdivision developments, we have approved lighting at intersections and then what we call yard or uplighting on the homes themselves. So.
And I'm correct that there are no sidewalks within this development? I don't want to take it right from the, this conceptual.
There are sidewalks within the development.
Within this?
Yes, in front of the homes.
In front of the units.
On
Yep.
the Sheldon Road.
And throughout. So the rendering you had in your site plan packet, this, the 32-page one, that demonstrates where the sidewalks are.
Okay.
In the presentation, that's just a very high level rendering they did.
Okay.
There's multiple loops of sidewalk throughout the community for the folks to walk throughout the community.
Yeah, I see that.
Let's see, I think there was one more thing I wanted to cover. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so, Ms. Wolf, so you mentioned in your report that mesh, the safety net, so that still exists, and what are you proposing, what are you suggesting, that it be removed?
No, I wasn't suggesting one way or the other. It had just been brought up by the commission during the PUD option, and we recommended that this is a great time, the applicant is here, for you to ask them questions about it. That's all.
Do you have any thoughts on that safety net?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Again, we had a slide, but we can't seem to have that, but a supplemental slide. But really, we have one hole, two holes facing away from us, and then we have one par 3 coming at us, and we're about 140 feet off of that. Generally, what you see, and you'll see it in Northville Hills and other areas, you'll be about 100 feet off of a green on a par 3. So we're 140, so we're comfortably off that. To go further, we know the golf course has made some modification, and there's significant buffering there. So we have a nice distance off the one par 3 coming at us, and then there's quite a bit of tree vegetation. So we're comfortable that we don't need any safety netting for our project. But we did look at it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else have anything else to discuss, comment on? All right. Well, I think we will be postponing this. Is there a date that, we typically, what we do is we postpone it X amount of time, but if all of the concerns have been addressed by you at that point to the best of your ability, we do the little research here on the sidewalks. Sure. You can always come earlier than what we say.
Yeah. So I think anywhere from 60 to 90 days as an end date would be fine. Yeah.
You know what, I'll go 4 months, just because our meetings are a little
Our meetings are off.
A little
because
off next year because of the election.
The election, they're using this
The
rule.
holidays don't make it any easier either, so that's fine.
So what are you suggesting, maybe March
4
or
months?
April?
I'll just say 4 months.
Well, you
I'll
should,
say till the April meeting.
April meeting.
Okay.
We'll say to the April meeting, but things move quicker,
Yeah, you can always come
you
back.
can always come back.
Okay, no.
Just note that our meetings aren't the third Wednesday throughout the whole, all of 2024, especially the first couple months because of the election. So I think we're first Wednesday in February and then like fourth Wednesday in March. So just FYI, it's a little different.
Could be
beginning
one
of
in
the
May
year.
too. There could be 4 elections next year.
Okay,
With this, if the school board recall and it goes through an election,
okay.
that'll be a special election.
Yeah, so just,
Do we have a meeting date? Did you say March or April? I didn't.
oh, just telling you that our generally planning commission meetings are the third Wednesday.
Right.
But 2024 is going to be,
It's going to
It's gonna
be
be funky.
odd
Yeah.
because of the election.
Because of the
But you
election,
can
they
look
need
on the
this room.
website, I don't think it's up yet because the board of trustees have to approve it. But certainly around the holiday or the first of the year, you can look on the website and it'll have the actual dates.
yeah, the dates are there. I just wanted to give you a heads up
No,
that it's not our
we
standard.
appreciate that. Thank you,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I recommend that we postpone a vote on the development plan for the St. John's Towns PUD for up to 4 months to allow the applicant to incorporate the revisions here in the McKenna report dated November 6, 2023, the engineer's report dated November 8, 2023, and as described in the April-May 2023 PUD option.
And research on the sidewalk.
And that research will be done on the issues with the sidewalk, if it can be a condition of this PUD option.
May I mention, it should be a motion to postpone, not a recommendation to postpone.
Okay, motion to propose. Yeah, I read your word here. It's a motion to postpone.
Okay, is there a support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to postpone application 2504 until no later than the April 2024 meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business, application 2466, the Seraphin Automotive Special Land Use. And Ms. Wolf, you have your report?
Thank you. So I was not present at the October 18th meeting. May I ask how much you discussed this with our planning director?
How much we discussed it with
Yeah,
you?
did you have time to discuss this with Laura last month as well, or did this item get tabled?
Well, the applicant wasn't here, so we
Okay.
really, she just went through the report.
Okay, got it.
That
Thank
was
you.
at the special November 1st meeting, right?
Yeah, just to give me some context.
Right.
So if she went through the report, I won't belabor you with it again since it has not changed, but I will cover the final recommendation in the report. So if you go to the final page, we note.
Let me find that.
Oh,
before
sure.
you go.
Should be, the plans are around page 70, so the report should be a little bit before that. Oh, I think, is that it? Yeah, go down a couple pages if you would. Yep, so as you have seen over the course of this project, the applicant has made substantial revisions to their special land use concept plan. At this time, it is recommended that the applicant present their changes to the Planning Commission and discuss the outstanding items, including, but not limited to, landscaping and screening, hours of operation, timing of deliveries, site security, and more, prior to a final decision being made on the special land use application. And the applicant is here today to answer your questions and has provided supplemental information that is printed out and provided in your packet. I'm going to read out this supplemental information for the matter of record. So the applicant has proposed the following maximum hours of operation. Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. If these maximums are ever needed, however, these are the These are maximum if ever needed. However, the typical hours of operation placed on the door of business would be less, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., closed on Sundays. And the applicant has stated that the maximum hours are in case someone ever has to come in early or leave late, or has to come in on a Sunday to do something, and then notes that per Michigan law, no car sales are permitted on Sundays. They would only be used for picking up and dropping off vehicles, doing paperwork, cleanup, or something minor. The applicant has also said that the maximum number of vehicles for sale at any time on the property would be 40 vehicles. The applicant has said that there would be several cameras covering the entire property, at least 16 at minimum, and they would cover the rear of the building as built. And the buildings would also have break-in alarms in case of a robbery or other form of break-in. The applicant has stated that the maximum number of employees on the site would vary based on how successful the business is. At a minimum, it would be 1. At a maximum, it would be 8. And that is the supplemental information that we have before you today. So the applicant is here. Mo, if you'd like to speak to the commission.
Okay.
Mohammed Isa. First, I'd like to apologize for not attending the October 1st special meeting, November 1st, I'm sorry. I was not notified about that meeting at all. I only found out about that when Dan Atkins called me a few days later to tell me that I missed the meeting. And then the initial one in October, I had my son with me and we couldn't stay too late. So I apologize, and I hope you understand.
Okay.
You want me to speak?
Boyd, do you have anything to add about, before we discuss, or you would rather have us just ask you questions, or?
Yeah, whatever you prefer. I can say, for the most part, the site is gonna stay the way it is, the layout. The rear building, I'm planning on tearing down completely and rebuilding, just 8 feet deeper, 8 feet longer, so it's gonna use the original footprint, but, about 700 square feet bigger. The driveways are gonna stay the same, and we're proposing to put in sidewalk. There is no sidewalk right now at all on the property, so we are putting a sidewalk in, and a 3-foot brick wall in the front of Northville Road, not on Northville Road, but the front of the property, to block the front building a little, to make it look more appealing. And the front building is gonna be completely re-bricked. Whether it's veneer or brick, it's gonna be re-bricked, so it's gonna look like a brand new building. I believe there might be a sample. I provided pictures, when I watched the video of the last report, some of you assumed that these are from the neighbors, but I provided these pictures. I don't know if you want to look at them, or okay, you want me to go through them or no?
Are they the ones that have numbers on them?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, right here. I brought those. I brought pictures.
Okay.
And I did think that they came from the neighbors.
Yeah.
But there was no key with the numbers.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I couldn't put the pictures in context as to.
Sure, yeah, I don't do this, it's my first time doing,
okay.
zoning thing, and
So just to make sure we're talking the same thing, so I have picture number 1 with a pickup truck and a.
yes.
Oh, okay. So I can share this with these two.
There should have been 11 copies or 14 copies, everyone should have a set.
We got them before.
They were just on we had them in a different meeting packet.
Yeah.
And didn't know that they were from you.
Okay.
We thought they were from perhaps one of
It's
the
not a
citizens.
big deal, I was just gonna use these in my defense a little,
Well, I can.
but I don't think they're that important anyway.
Well, what are they telling us?
Yeah.
Well, they just show that other businesses have disabled and vehicles parked in front of their building. Not that I'm saying that I'm gonna do that, mine is gonna be behind a brick wall as proposed. Any disabled or wrecked vehicle is gonna be behind a brick wall. But this to show other, businesses in Plymouth that have those and they don't seem to have a problem. And then also to show that there's these, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Time Auto Sales on Plymouth Road.
That's in the city.
Yeah, well, they have a high-rise apartment building right behind them, right adjacent. It's a 4-story high-rise apartment building, very beautiful apartment building. Well, maybe it's not even apartments, maybe they're even homes. And, there's a dealership right underneath them, which they can see. You know what I mean? When they look out their window, they see them. I don't think it's been an issue with them ever, to be honest. A lot of you have mentioned and neighbors have mentioned that I cut down all the trees and that there used to be a barrier. I did cut down almost all the trees except for one heritage tree. That's correct. But there was never a barrier between me and the neighbors, ever. The trees were between me and I'm 14, and only one home was affected. You can go on Google Earth, it's right there actually, and Google Earth will go back 30 years and show you. For 30 years, there's never been any trees along the south line between all of those homes and myself. All those, I don't know if you can clearly see from that tree, from that picture, if you get a better angle. There's no trees along the southern wall on my side of the wall. So if the neighbors were ever posing that there were trees on my side and now they can see, whereas before they couldn't, that's untrue. The only home that was unable to see is that one directly east of me. He's the only home that can see. But in the plans that we're posing to do, we're gonna recover those with evergreen trees anyways. And in the plan, even though there are no screening wall on the right side, so if we go a little more south, you see the wall, there's no trees at all. But in the landscape plan that we're gonna do, we're gonna cover that whole wall with evergreens. Maybe not the whole wall, but I think Laura told us like every 15 feet or 20 feet or so. Yeah, so there's the wall, you see it? And that's before I bought the building, and that's been for like 20 years like that. So there's never been any trees covering the neighbors to my right and myself. So I don't know why, they keep coming in and saying that I cut the trees up, now they can see. They were always able to see. And of course, I'm not there to cause a nuisance for my neighbors. I want to make sure, we live in harmony and everything will be all right. So number 12 shows you a clear picture of the pictures I sent. 12 and 13 are very clear. They show you. So again, the only home is the one directly in the back, and it's not his front or rear windows, it's his side windows. So there's smaller windows on the side. But yes, he's the only one that's been affected and could see now.
And that brick wall is on the property of the townhouses, correct?
I don't know whose property it's on, but it separates me from him. I think it might be on the property line.
I mean, the brick wall that runs behind the condos?
Yeah, it runs behind,
Yeah.
separates my property from their properties.
I think that does belong to the condos, because I drove that site, and it looks new. It looks the same as, about the same age, if you can tell.
Yeah. Well, I know, I'm sure it was with I'm sure whoever built the condos built that wall, yes, if that's what you're asking, but whose property line is it on, I don't know.
Well, I think it's on the condo side, hopefully.
There's a wall as well on the very back where the trees have been removed. So there's a wall there too, separating me and that home that's all the way in the back.
I had a couple questions. Did you get a permit to remove the trees?
Before I cut the trees, I went to the building department and spoke with Pam, and she told me before I touch any trees to get a tree survey, which I have, and I provided. And when I went back with the tree survey, she told me I can cut all the trees except the heritage trees, which I didn't touch the heritage trees at the time. Then the person that did the tree survey, which you guys should have a copy of, it's on the same land survey as well. He told me that one of the trees was dead. So I went back with the photos to Pam, and Laura was in the meeting, and so was Ken, and showed him the photos and told him that the survey guy said that tree was dead. They granted me permission to cut that one. When the contractor that was removing the underground storage tanks was working on derooting when they cleared the trees that were able to get cut, the brush and the trees, he thought it was a better idea to remove the roots. So he was removing the roots from the ground so they don't regrow or, turn into vines or whatever. And he derooted one of the third trees, and it started leaning towards the back home. So I went back again to the building department and got the permission to cut that one. That's why there's only one that remains right now. Either way, I'm gonna replant trees to cover all of the inches of trees that were cut anyway.
Okay, another question. The storage lot toward the back of the building, or the storage on the back of the lot, is that going to be a gravel lot or will that be paved?
Currently, it's paved. Most of it is paved. Like 70% of the property is paved. I was not gonna pave anything, and I asked if we can just make it gravel. So we're gonna leave it, I think the township said, since no customers are gonna go back there, then we can have it as gravel back there.
Okay, and then there would be no curbs on that either, then?
I'm sorry?
There would be no curbing on the gravel area?
No curbs, correct.
Okay.
Or that's what the engineer proposed, no curbs.
And on the front of the site, where would the used vehicles be for sale? Where would they be located?
The front of the site, I'm sorry, I know the pictures are small. Originally, I had the 36 by 24 pictures, but when the engineer and I went back to see Laura and, modified and updated it, she thought since it was a preliminary, she would print out these pages and not have me do, go reprint everything. The vehicles will be parked along M14, so the property line along M14 and between the two buildings. So I'm sure I don't know if you can see, but there's a parking lot layout between the two buildings. So some of those parking spots are going to be, if needed. Now, I said maximum of 40 vehicles. Am I ever gonna reach 40 vehicles? I don't know. Do I need 40 vehicles? I don't know if I'm gonna reach that. But I just gave an overestimate rather than give you an underestimate.
You certainly don't have 40 spots on this drawing in that area, so.
And then along M14, from the very front of the property to almost to where the rear building starts. It's almost 200 feet, I believe, 175 feet.
So would you actually have, I guess what I'm questioning is, along Northville Road, would there be vehicles placed by your fence there along Northville Road, or would the only used vehicles for sale only be along the M14 border?
No, along M14
Okay,
and between the two buildings. In front of, you're talking about in front of the front building on Northville Road? No.
okay,
There's not gonna be any cars parked there. There's gonna be a 3-foot wall. I mean, if the township requires it, we're gonna put a 3-foot wall there, brick wall, in the front, from like driveway to driveway.
yeah.
That way, it looks more appealing.
So in effect, it's M14 plus this area behind the front building and in front of the back building?
Correct.
Okay.
And, yeah. But there's also gonna be room for cars to maneuver 20 feet, fire truck or whatever needs to get in, so. I don't know, it's there, I don't know if you can see it clearly. So I don't know how many parking spots that comes out to, but it should be in there.
At the last meeting, I asked Laura if she had advised you that in Plymouth Township, you're not allowed to use banners or balloons or, the typical used vehicle.
I watched the video, yeah.
You're aware of that?
Yeah, I'm not planning on doing any of that.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, have you sold used cars before as a dealer, or is this your first?
No, I
venture?
have. I have sold used cars before as a dealer, yes. But not at this facility, no.
So I don't know if you've covered this, because I was trying to make notes here.
Sure.
What are you planning on doing about landscaping and screening?
Landscaping and screening, as we discussed with Laura, we're gonna put a 3-foot berm, I think it's called, along the whole perimeter from, where the brick wall are, between me and the condominiums. And there's gonna be the evergreen trees along all of that.
On top of the berm or next to the berm?
Yeah, she recommended on top, but not on top in the center, like 1 foot off on each side so they can be staggered.
Right, staggered.
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of trees those would be?
She recommended white spruce, I believe. But I was gonna look into whatever evergreens I can find that grow with the widest and the tallest, to be honest. And then so the tree might change. She recommended white spruce, and I believe that's what the plans show. But if I can find something that'll grow, wider and higher, that would be ideal to satisfy, the neighbors, hopefully.
Yeah, some of the evergreens, once they get more mature, they'll lose those bottom branches. So you might want to consider some lower items, landscaping in there as sort of an understory.
Well, we have the 6-foot brick wall.
Oh, you do have, so the screening, it would be next to that that brick wall?
Yes, it'll be right there. So the brick wall coming out 8 feet will be a berm.
Okay,
So it'll be on top of it.
gotcha, okay, great. And one of the other things do you expect any deliveries? I mean, how are these used cars gonna come in? How do you acquire them, or do they come in on a?
Yeah, most of them, or I should say 90% of them will be delivered, yes, either by, they're all gonna be delivered by trucks. How big are the trucks? Depends on the delivery guy. So you can get a 2-car hauler, you can get a regular tow truck, you can get a 9-car hauler. So that's why we're proposing the property stay the way it is. We don't need 2 driveways, but for a truck that's gonna come in and get out, if it has a trailer, chances are it's gonna need the 2 driveways to make a U-turn and get out.
And you don't know the time of the deliveries?
Yeah, the delivery will, generally it's during business hours, it's never after business hours. So I don't believe I'm gonna do a after-hour drop-off for customers. Deliveries for owned vehicles by us are never gonna be delivered after business hours, that's for sure. The only ones I can say if they ever get delivered after hours is if a customer got stranded and wanted to drop their car off, like at new car dealers. Am I gonna allow that? I don't know, I may not. So the hours of typical deliveries would be 9 AM to 6 PM. And I overestimated the hours of operation. So my ideal hours would be 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday 10 to 4. But I figured I'll say, just in case, worst case scenario, 7 AM to 9 PM. But I don't ever believe I'll ever use those hours.
I apologize for not researching this before, but are you going to repave the front of, basically, the lot to the west of the second building, where all your used vehicle sales are gonna be and your customer spots?
From the rear building, once it's rebuilt, from the back wall of that from the back wall of that building to the front driveways of Northville Road, it's all gonna be new asphalt, yes.
Okay.
And then the back wall of the rear building, there's gonna be 2 screening walls on each side, a sliding fence that's gonna be screened. And I guess that'll be the access in the back, so that's where the asphalt might stop right there.
I know that this is still, we're at the special land use phase, not site plan
Yes.
phase yet. But when we do get to the site plan phase, could make the plans larger, they're kind of hard to read.
Yes,
This
I will.
small. And also if you could include the color rendering of the buildings, that would be really helpful too.
Okay. I don't know if you still have the original packets. They had the larger pictures and they were in color as well. I don't know if you still have them.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah,
this
so
size.
No, they
that's
were
because I had to
36
print
by
those
24.
out.
Oh, you,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
that's on me. That's the largest size paper we have at the township.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah, because it was like trying to read, it
Yeah,
was
sorry about that.
a challenge.
Yeah,
The
we
original ones I
commented
sent,
on
they
that.
were full color and full size.
Okay,
But with the revisions, she told me I don't have to reprint them. She was gonna submit this. So
okay.
I apologize, I would have reprinted them.
So just for the, once we get, I know we're on the special land use, but for site plan approval.
Yeah, they will be required to be 2 by 3 for site
Okay.
plan, 2 feet by 3
All right.
feet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I have my reading glasses on, but still.
Yeah, and we commented
Don't want
on
a
that
magnifying glass.
on the last time we met, especially with SPAR's development. I mean, I had to download the PDF and blow it up, and even then it was a little fuzzy because, I wanted to really look at that, and it's hard to do. But I think what Laura told us, that at that stage, they're only required to put this size. And when we get into site plan, then you go into the full size.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Now, that back building that you said you're going to tear down,
Yes,
so when do you plan on doing that?
whenever I get the permission.
So you wouldn't say 6 months from now or a year from now or?
No, whenever if I get full approval and the site continues to go ahead, then I'm gonna start immediately.
Oh, okay. I was just asking that question because I'm looking at the site security, and you mentioned about the cameras, and those cameras
Sure.
would be put on that building when the building is built. So I just wanted to see
Sure.
the timing of that.
No, I got you. Yeah, no problem.
I would ask the other commission, now I did look at these hours of operation, and you have from 7 to 9, and you do say that you're putting a maximum
Correct.
amount of time, but you said that you're going to post on the door or whatever, 9 to 6 and then closed on Sunday.
Correct.
What's the commission's feeling about perhaps, should we go with the maximum time that he's requesting, or the business hours, and he could always come back with the others, if he needs additional time? So what do you think about that?
Could see later in the morning, definitely, than the 7 AM, being adjacent to the residence.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question to throw it out there. Yeah, he says from 7 to 9. So do you want it to go to 9, or what he states as his posted time till 6 and closed on Sunday?
What's that? I don't have that sheet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't get this
It's
one.
up in here.
Got it. Maximum hours, but what are? It's like they open at 9 until 6.
No, I think they open. What's his business? Oh, at 9, yeah.
Right, 9
Yeah,
till
right,
6.
right.
That email, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it. But maybe if it were 8 to 7 or something, but not.
I'm just throwing
7
that
a.m.
out there for consideration, whatever the commission thinks.
Does anyone else think?
Pardon?
For hours? Like 7 AM, is it too early?
Well, the thing is, by putting a maximum there, that becomes what he can do any day he wants, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But with it being adjacent to residents,
People on their way to work though, drop off.
yeah, that's true.
I think 7:30 might be more appropriate.
What,
And how open, car dealers, sometimes they have a couple of nights they're open late, right? How late are they typically open? When they're
Do you
late?
have any one specific day that you're open later than the rest?
No. Ideally, every time I've worked, it was always 9 to 6. I just put that in if ever needed. I know other, like Bell Tire opens at 7 AM, Discount Tire, so I assumed, I've always worked within the cities closer to Detroit. I've never been this far out in the suburbs. I think, maybe suburban people wake up earlier, I don't know. I'm sorry, so, I don't know what to say. That's why I put that to accommodate, just in case. If ever needed. I don't think I'll ever open up at 7, to be honest, ever. But if you want me to change it to 8 AM, that's fine as well.
If I may mention something, I did look into other locations that are automotive repair shops near residences. It's more common in Ypsilanti and in Ann Arbor than it is in Plymouth and Canton, but typical opening times are 8 AM or later.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But what time do they close?
Some of them close as early as 4, to give their guys a break.
What's the
But
latest?
usually like 6 or 7 is the latest that you're gonna see.
Because he's got the maximum as 9
That's
PM.
the
Yeah,
time I'm more
and
concerned about that.
That's more common if you are running a dealership that's, farther away from residential homes, usually a larger scale dealership. But I was specifically looking for repair shops that are adjacent to either residences or residential use, like a school or something else similar. But it is up to the commission to set any hours of operation.
what kind of light service are you going to be doing?
Well, as I told Laura, we're gonna do all auto repair that we possibly could, but there's not gonna be no paint work, and there's no frame straightening. So I don't know if she put that in her report. I seen it was in her notes that she proposed that. So there's gonna be absolutely no paint work done, and absolutely no frame straightening done over there. But whatever work I could get, I would like to do. I bought this place almost 2 years ago. To be honest, I've only had 3 customers so far, so.
So, Nemi, so this is a special land use, but you know, we've asked for this in the past, so where is the statement of what the use is? I mean, he's giving us a lot of information, which is great that we're asking for, but I don't see it in writing, so we all can be sure we know what we're agreeing to. But, you know, that he's getting what he's expecting, and we're putting in what we expect.
Let me ask one clarifying question. Would you be doing any form of body work on the cars?
Removing panels, yes.
And repairing them?
Not repairing them, no, removing and replacing, yeah.
Removing and replacing?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's merely plastic panels being removed and replaced, you can consider that minor automotive repair. If you're actually getting into deforming the panels, you know, metal ones, doors, that sort of thing, that's what we consider body work or major automotive repair. And those two are separate. When the original submission came to you, it was an application for 3 different special land uses: major automotive, minor automotive, and sales. So in this case, I would say you can clarify exactly which combination of those 3 you are asking for today.
Yeah, originally, that's how I found out that there's no paint work allowed and no frame straightening. So that's why I agreed to remove that, and I will not be doing any of that at all. But as far as everything else, I hope I have the permission to do that, auto repair and panel removal and replacement.
What I'm hearing is that the application is for minor automotive repair and used car sales, which are 2 different special land uses.
And is that defined in our ordinance?
Yes, that is the terminology used in our ordinance.
So we're not getting a statement of what we're wanting to approve?
Well, you would incorporate it into the motion. So if you were to approve the special land use today, you would say approval of the special land use for automotive sales and minor automotive repair on the findings of fact that X criteria are met and on said conditions, and then list the conditions. That would be my recommendation for the best motion. But if you're not comfortable with that, we can also provide you with a clearer statement in a different month from our department with the definitions of each of those items.
Your recommendation here, I got the idea that you're looking for a postponement until a later date when, like, all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed.
Yes, if the commission is not comfortable setting things like the hours of operation and the uses within the motion today, we would recommend postponement so a clear motion can be written in advance for you. But if you are happy with what is presented today, the motion I would recommend is what I just stated. So it would be for those 2 land uses on the conditions that the hours of operation be restricted and several other things be resolved during the site plan phase.
Again, I'm probably getting too deep here, but you said you're not doing any painting or frame straightening, but you would be removing and replacing fenders. Typically, in that case, there needs to be a little bit of body work done, you know, Bondo or whatever today's version of Bondo is and all that.
Yeah, no, I will not be doing any Bondo work in-house at all. Any paint or body work would be sent away, whether it's sending the panel alone or after it's on the vehicle, send the vehicle out to get painted elsewhere. So at the facility, there will be no frame straightening or paint work at all, or Bondo work or anything of that nature.
Thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
And I do have the definitions between minor and major, if you'd like me to read them to you.
No, I think the issue is whether or not we want to do so, you know, can read them if the commission decides that they're happy with trying to construct the motion today, or, you know, come up with something in writing so we know for sure that all our bases are covered. I mean, Bill Pratt was a big one on that, and I would agree with him that, you know, that's the purpose of why this gentleman is here, is to, you know what he can do on that particular site. But, you know, if we're still not clear.
Right. And
Well,
for the
we're clear, but
resident-
have we covered everything, you know?
Right. And for the residents too, that they know clearly what they can expect from the site.
Right. Yeah, if you get complaints from the neighbors and he's doing what we're approving, then he's in his right to do that.
So if you would like, we'd be happy to provide an updated memo to you that incorporates what Mr. Essa is proposing today in a more clear motion.
Is that what?
Do we have a public hearing tonight, or?
No.
No, we don't. But we do notify the Gateway Condos Association president every time this item is on the agenda. Hopefully he checks his email, but.
Yeah, I
What can
was
they do?
expecting him to come in last time or this time because they were quite vocal. I'm sort of surprised they didn't show up. Okay, well,
May I say something? I'm sorry.
yeah, sure.
Originally, I sent in a full statement that says,
What you want to do?
yeah, and I believe in that packet, on the engineers, I know they're smaller, but I believe it's in there as well, updated one as well, that Laura had us modify and put in there.
Didn't we, the first time you came in, we talked about you were going to meet with the neighbors and,
I attempted to meet with the neighbors, even after September meeting that I had to leave early. I went home and I watched the video and I seen them come out here. So the following morning, I reached out to them again and I never heard back from the president. Never heard back. And I'm shocked that they're not here to, I assume these people here were neighbors. So I'm shocked they're not here, and I'm also was shocked November 1st, nobody showed up either, the meeting I missed.
Yeah, I was a little, well, as I said, I was a little surprised because it was,
Yeah,
they were a high interest item.
sure, but when I emailed them, I spoke my concerns and told them, I never had, I'm not out here to make enemies or, bother my neighbors or anything, and my theory is live and let live, so I don't know if they took that and said, let them be, or maybe as Danny said, they might not be checking their emails, but I think 2 months ago till now, he should have replied to me. So maybe he thinks it's okay, I don't know. I can't speak on his behalf.
So do you have what he's?
This is the summary from Laura, as far as the use.
Is this the one we got? Oh, okay.
So I guess is the commission comfortable with
Okay.
making do you want to table it, or?
Well, she's saying here's some additional information from the applicant. So is it a complete statement?
No, you're not clear?
I
Nani,
just,
you said you could do a new report and then draft a more comprehensive motion for
Yeah,
us to.
based on the information that Mr. Essie has
Right.
provided, yes, and all the progress that has been made on the concept plan.
pardon?
I said, and any other progress that's been made on the
Right.
concept
That
plan.
sounds good to me.
So I guess two big questions though, are we okay with the minor auto repair and the used auto sales? Because those are really the big thing. Is that okay on this site?
I am.
Yeah, I think the auto repairs, we want to be
The minor
specific.
auto repair.
Yeah,
Need to be more specific.
specific, we need the definitions. It
Okay.
might be in the ordinance, but I think
Okay.
it's better to have that in the motion.
Yeah, we can create a new motion and provide it to both the applicant and the commission in advance for your review.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, the other word you could use is mechanical, right? Because mechanical and auto body are two different things. So it sounds like all you're doing is mechanical work. So if you change that to minor auto mechanical work, that should, I would think.
Just so it matches the
Narrow
ordinance.
As long as it
covered
matches
under
the
one.
ordinance.
Gotta
narrow
match the
it down,
ordinance.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just match whatever the language is in the definition section of the zoning
Okay.
code to make sure it's perfectly the same. I think it might even be called automobile repair instead of automotive, so I'll check that.
So I guess I just wanted to give you an indication of where we're headed,
Sure. Okay.
but to make it more clear and concise and cleaner,
Yes. Oh,
like moving forward, like if we table it, we'll have like a cleaner application to approve
I understand.
at a later date.
Yeah.
I understand, that's fine. Can I clear something up? I'm sorry.
Sure.
So it's not gonna be just auto repair. I do need to do some type of auto body panel removal and replacement. Most of these cars that I will be getting are going to be from insurance companies, so they will have light body damage that I would have to replace a panel, a bumper, a headlight, or a hood. No paintwork again, and no frame straightening, just removal and replacement at the facility. And even if it's just mechanical, some vehicles, to replace a light bulb in your headlight, you must remove the bumper to get to it, just so you know. And a core support to remove a radiator sometimes. So that requires you removing the bumper and the core support to get to the radiator. So I just wanted to clarify on that, I'm sorry. So not strictly just mechanical.
I think it would also be helpful to, if the it does concern me a little bit that nobody from the HOA is here. If the president is not responding, maybe we can communicate a little bit more broadly or something, if you can
Yeah.
think of a way.
We can do paper notices for,
Yeah.
or not truly a notice, if you know what I mean, but
Just
a flyer.
A courtesy flyer.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We've noticed that the township does not have the current cell phone number for the HOA president.
Yeah,
so
we don't
that's
have
part of
them
the
all.
issue.
There's no rule that says they have to provide them.
Yeah.
And we have, sometimes I have a difficult time figuring out, I've had to go out to like the state website, to see how to register before to find them.
Yeah, so I can definitely provide a courtesy flyer for the next meeting.
Well, that might be true with emails too. I mean, if you, if you don't have the cell phone, that
Guy could have
email might
moved
be
or
stale.
something.
Changed first people.
We don't, because we don't have contact information for every HOA out there.
Okay,
But the point is, we will have made an attempt to contact them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
so is this something we could do for, at the next, well, our next meeting is pretty quick. Can you do this by the December meeting?
A new memorandum?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely can, because there's no adjustments required to the concept plan. It would merely be an adjustment to our memorandum to incorporate this additional information. So much easier than I would say a typical site plan review.
And
But
is it the 6th, December
The
6th
6th.
is when we meet again?
Yeah, so we do meet in 3 weeks. It's really quick.
December 6th?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll be here.
Okay.
Okay, so just postpone it
Yeah.
until the December meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we postpone application number 2466, the Serafund Automotive Special Land Use, until, I'm gonna say,
You could say January to be on the safe
yeah, I'm gonna
side.
say until our January meeting of 2024.
Support? Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to postpone the application 2466 until the January, no later than the January meeting of 2024. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Well, it's going to be in December, but we say
Give you some
January
leeway.
just in case something happens. Yeah, but
You can come before January.
you can come before January. If something did happen at our end or at your end, you can just communicate it to Laura.
like the ice storm from last year that shut down our meetings.
Yeah, we could have 10 inches of
Thank
snow
you.
on that day.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then now we have the monthly report. Are there any questions, comments?
I had one question. The very last sentence on page 4 says, comprehensive land use plan, a study session by the planning commission is scheduled for December 6th after the regular meeting to discuss the draft plan. Is this our first discussion on updating the master plan to 2025? Or?
So, you had the study session where we discussed mixed use and office and things like that. That was a portion of the master plan. This would be a session for the master plan as a whole. So, but it also could be incorporated into the public portion of the December 6th meeting, as opposed to being a study session. We're still kind of working out the agenda because there's a lot of things coming up on December 6th, if I'm being honest. We have this, we have a special land use for a indoor soccer facility. We have the courthouse grill PUD. There's a lot of items. So by separating the two, we do give members of the public the option to not have to attend if they don't care.
Where's the indoor soccer facility?
Yeah.
proposed?
It's proposed on Gibb Street. So the notice has been given in the newspaper and by mail, and you'll see the application come
which
in
street?
next month.
Gibb.
Gibb Street.
Oh,
Reason I'm asking the question is, a couple of meetings ago, I made a motion which was approved by the planning commission that we would go through the age-friendly assessment and discuss some of the concerns that I had on that. And my question is that intended to be part of this discussion as well, or
That
is
can
that
be
a
done at the
separate
same
discussion
time.
item?
Yeah, that could absolutely be done at the same time. I think the only concern in the December 6th meeting is whether we'll even get to the master plan at this point.
Yeah,
Right.
So we would like to do master plan and the age in place assessment at the same time.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
So whenever the master plan is possible to next put on the agenda, which is still planned for December 6th at this time, we'll do the age in place assessment as well. But if that has to get bumped to January, that might just be the way it is for the number of agenda items we have.
Yeah, because I see that discussion of those two items to be quite,
Relevant to each other, right?
right,
Yes.
right, right, exactly. And it's going to be a lengthy discussion, I think.
so.
A lot of reflection, a lot of thinking as to where we're going with all of that.
Right.
So I hope for December 6th, but.
Yeah,
what
it
you
might
say.
have to get moved to January based on the agenda items, because, we have to address applicants with a certain time frame. We can't push them off forever.
Right,
Right.
right.
Or if we could even
Which
do
is fine with me, I just want to make sure that those two items are discussed together.
Yes.
That was my point.
or that we may even have a special meeting to do the master plan, that would be great.
Maybe in January.
Maybe
Yeah.
January, like where we could just focus on it, because I have a map with all kinds of notes of places that I want to talk about.
Yeah, I can look into scheduling that.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the clerk's office and see what kind of election prep they're doing in January.
Anybody else have comments on the report, the monthly report? Any commissioner comments in general?
I just had a question for Nanny. Is the Amazon Fresh or Bob, is that going to go through? I know in the past I heard no, but now it looks like it's moving forward. Just curious.
Yes, absolutely. They are still pulling interior permits for that site, and the site is still moving forward. I think their projected open date is getting pushed back over time, but they're still making progress on it.
Okay.
Somebody broke the windows or something.
Yeah, with a BB gun, it was in the
Is that
paper.
what it was?
Yeah, they got caught.
Oh, they
Good.
did?
Yeah, it was a kid with a BB
City
gun.
Township report.
Oh, it was just a kid. I thought it was an anti-Amazon protest.
And it's in the city, but on the corner of Harvey and Ann Arbor Road, on the northeast corner where the Chase Bank was. Do you know what that's going to be?
Dentist office,
Dentist
That's
office?
because we don't have enough dentists in Plymouth.
Or do we have two?
That's what isn't that what they told us, what Nick told
It
us?
is.
Yeah,
It is what is going in there.
Okay,
a
all right,
dental office.
okay. I've gotten questions. I'm like, it's the city. It's not the township. Okay, that's all I had.
Anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn at 9:26?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn at 9:26.
Do support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Grieger to adjourn the meeting at 9:26. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.